Hey there, guys. So I want to welcome you to today's midweek Wednesday live stream, or midday live stream, I should say. So there's a lot of new changes that I've been doing here lately. As far as it pertains to my website, I really want you guys to check out my website. I'm working on it pretty much daily, trying to fix it and making adjustments to it. I'm adding a ton of new sort of pages that you can go to that where you can schedule consultations, a separate page that I'm going to have where you'll be able to sort of see, my available times. For my current clients, I am adding more resources that can be accessed. Now, that is specifically for clients. That is going to be basically clients will get access to sort of specific resources pertaining to their goals, resources that involve, whether it be muscle gain or whether it be weight loss, a little bit more detailed information, why you should be doing warm ups and cool downs, why being detailed and specific about your goals is important, as well as assessments from our clients. That's another thing that I've been working on. So that is going to be specifically for clients. But again, I have a booking page that I'm building at the moment, and I am working on the website to be able to sort of primarily for clients to be able to access a profile through the website so that they can kind of see their upcoming, scheduled check-in calls and things like that. That's sort of what I've been doing with my website. Another thing too is I'm trying to, of course, make it more user friendly, make it easily accessible. That way you can see, everything kind of at a glance. That's what I've been trying to focus on. When you go to the page, again, it's mobile friendly. So I have a specific page that is designed for mobile devices, and then I have a page that's a website specifically designed to be accessed on a desktop or any larger platform, I guess you would say. So definitely check out my website. Of course, I have a domain name for it, which is bponlinefitness.com. It is also searchable on Google. That's something new that I forgot to mention. It's searchable on Google. So when you search BP Online Fitness, if you go to the search bar, not just the address bar, but the search bar in the main Google page, you'll be able to search for the results and it'll show my page as the first option. So it is accessible through Google as well if you search instead of going directly to the site by the HTML address, I guess you would say. So definitely check that out. I've been working on it, been trying to, invest as much, you know, money and energy into it because I know that it is going to be very integral to my program and another great resource that is stacked on top of all the other, offers that I have. So that's something I want to address. I always, sort of address a few things before I get started because there's a lot of changes that I'm making as far as my online coaching, you know to give you guys free value, of course, but to expand and to grow my business and to give a more streamlined experience for anybody who is a client of mine, especially. So that's what I've been focusing on. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I need to just do like an announcement sort of section of the stream first. That's probably what I'm gonna go back to do because I think I did it previously. I did an announcement section, but I think that's what I'm gonna do next time is to do like the first part of the stream announcements and then do the stream focusing on the topic at hand. But anyways, I just want to address that about the website. I'm working on that pretty hard because I do feel like there's a bunch of potential in that, and it's a great resource to learn more about the program, and it's going to be a great resource for clients as well to be able to schedule appointments, to be able to find detailed information regarding how to reach their goals and this and that. So just wanted to address that. But with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get started with talking about today's topic, which is about how to prevent injuries in workouts. Now, I know last week I had said I had mentioned something about weight loss, but I actually kind of pushed that to next week. And you've probably seen that on the Facebook group page where I pushed that, event, that live stream discussion next week. So today we're going to specifically talk about injury prevention and sort of the basics of how you can prevent injury as it relates to workouts. And this is basically what we're going to sort of go through and discuss. I've discussed a little bit about injury prevention in the past, but it's something that I like to address and to bring up, you know, pretty often because, especially, a lot of people that I work with, maybe starter, basically beginners to workouts, and who are not, adjusted to a workout routine, getting injured is very easy because your body is not adjusted to a workout routine. So that's the reason why I want to discuss this. And even if you're somebody who is very comfortable in your workout routine, this stuff can really matter too, because you can still get injured regardless if you've been working out for a while. I've gotten injured, and it can be from different things. So that's what we're going to go through today, is how you can sort of prevent that. I'm going to be talking mainly about the basics. Some of this you may know, some of this you may not know. So what we're going to discuss is basically about warm-ups. We're going to discuss proper form, proper progression, rest and recovery, proper equipment, balance and stability training, as well as cool downs. So this is basically what we're going to discuss and go through today. So preventing injuries during exercise is crucial for maintaining a safe and effective fitness routine. And again, talking about injury and sort of preventing it, if you aren't, really paying attention, you aren't safe, injuries can really, sort of affect your progress and can lead you back because you were doing things improperly. So, it's something to keep in mind, is that not only getting hurt is the bad thing, but it's also going to be detrimental to, you reaching your goal, because you're going to have to take time away from your workouts. So we're going to go over a lot of different things and how to prevent this. So the first thing we're going to discuss is about warm-ups. And I do want to sort of mention it as it pertains to my workout program and what my clients do, that I always require clients to do warm-ups as well as cool downs. And I'm going to talk about cool downs too closer towards the end, but they both are somewhat similar. However, they're a tad different in how they work and what they do, I should say. So warm-ups are basically roughly 10 to 15 minutes of light aerobic exercises, such as jogging, jumping jacks, or cycling, to increase blood flow and prepare your muscles for more intense activity. A lot of times I have my clients do foam rolling or stretches. That's usually what the warm-ups pertain. Sometimes cardio is in there, again, to sort of increase the blood flow. Another thing that I do is that, sometimes I'll do dynamic stretches for clients, maybe stretches that have a little bit more movement rather than just static stretches. So that's another thing that I do. And we're going to discuss, the reasons why these are important. So warm-ups gradually increase your heart rate and circulation. This improved blood flow delivers more oxygen and nutrients to your muscles, making them more pliable and less prone to injury. So you're basically, making your muscles a little bit more elastic, in other words, to be able to sustain any particular movements that you're going to do in the exercise. Another thing with that I don't have mentioned here with warm-ups is that a lot of times with the warm-ups that I have my clients do, and that I would recommend you to do as well, even if you're not a client of mine, when you do a workout, is to basically do stretches that are going to target the specific muscles that you're working out that day. A lot of times, I do splits. The same can be said for my clients. With workout splits, it can be structured basically back and biceps, chest and triceps, maybe a core day, shoulders, legs, quads, glutes, hamstrings. So basically, if you were, for example, if you were to target, let's say, your quads, hamstrings, and glutes one day, the warm ups that you want to do is to stretch those particular muscles, stretching the quad muscles, stretching the hamstring muscles, and stretching the glute muscles. There's tons of exercises that you can do pertaining to targeting these specific muscles. It could be a static stretch, it could be a foam roller, SMR foam rolling, which is what I do, have my clients do, because those are very beneficial for stretching the muscle. Dynamic stretches, you could do conditioning, you could do small, sort of cardio sort of base workouts to help to engage those muscles to get started for the exercise. But you want to focus primarily on, targeting those specific muscles in your warm ups, if that makes sense. So, going back here, as your body temperature rises during a warm up, your muscles become more flexible and responsive, which is what I sort of discussed, it being, your muscles being a little bit more elastic, I guess you would say. So, this increased muscle elasticity and contractility can help improve, or excuse me, help prevent muscle strains and tears. Warm ups stimulate the production of synovial fluid, a lubricant in your joints. This lubrication reduces friction in the joints and can help prevent joint injuries such as sprains and strains. So, warm ups, as it's mentioned here, is roughly 10 to 15 minutes starting out. This is what you do before you start your workout. It can be a bunch of different activities, depending on what you're specifically targeting that day. It may be stretches, it may be more conditioning based sort of exercises, it may be, foam rolling, it may be cardio. So that's sort of basically the umbrella of what warm ups is. So, continuing on with discussing, about preventing injuries in your workouts, proper form and proper progression is really important. And I talk about these all the time. I feel like I talk about these every day at this point, but these are two very important points that I do want to quickly go over and discuss. So, with proper form, you want to ensure your body is properly aligned during exercises. This often involves maintaining a neutral spine, keeping your shoulders down and back, and aligning your knees with your toes. Proper alignment reduces stress on the joints and muscles. There has been a streaming presentation that I discussed previously a while back, and I need to bring it back because it is important and to sort of discuss it again and review it because it's an important topic. But that sort of is talking about the 5 Connect chain checkpoints, which is basically what is described here with the proper form. So it's basically, having alignment with your feet, excuse me, with your head, neck, shoulders, feet, sort of that alignment with, each particular checkpoint on your body. So you want to sort of maintain that neutral spine. You want to keep your shoulders down and back. You want to have your knees aligned with your second and third toe. And this is sort of the basic proper alignment you want to have when you're doing exercise. This is something that I follow pretty much every day when I do exercise, especially if I'm doing a lot of leg based stuff. It's something I really pay attention to, doing squats, lunges. This is something that I pretty much make it the primary thing when I'm doing the exercises to make sure that my body is properly aligned before I start, performing any exercise. I will bring that topic back up because it's pretty important. It's been a while since I've talked about it, but it's the 5 Connect checkpoints. And I would rather do that in a separate sort of presentation to discuss it a little bit further, sort of explain a little bit more on why that's important. But with this, I don't really have as much time to discuss it because we're going to be talking a little bit more about various different things on preventing injury rather than just focusing on proper form. So that's something that I'll bring up in the future. But continuing on to proper progression, avoid making sudden or drastic increases in training intensity, duration, or load. gradually progress by increasing one variable at a time, whether it's weight, volume, or intensity. A common guideline is to increase by no more than 10% per week. So this is basically going over the discussion of progressive overload, which I always talk about. But like I've talked about in the past, progressive overload doesn't necessarily have to be about increasing weight. It can be about intensity. It can be about the volume. That's something that you can keep in mind. But basically, what we're trying to hone in here is that you need to focus on gradual progression and not making drastic changes and not jumping from 50 pounds to 80 pounds. Basically, you don't want to jump into something where you don't have the proper progression. You've not mastered the form in 50 pounds, so you don't need to move on to 80 if you still have not mastered how to do a specific exercise with 50-pound weights. So that's basically what we're sort of discussing here. So you just don't want to increase your progression by more than 10% per week. It's a gradual progression. If you're focusing on weights, you want to gradually increase the weights. You can do the incremental weights. This is something I usually mention to clients is using incremental weights like the 5 pounds, the 2.5 pounds, say if you're using a barbell. That's something that you can use to gradually increase your weight rather than using a 10-pound or a 20-pound. Just gradually sort of progress in that way rather than jumping, up in weight so far. Because, if you sort of master and go through that progression, it's going to be easier, to get to your goal. And you're not going to be sticking with, trying to master a huge weight versus mastering, an incremental weight or adding, 2.5 pounds to the barbell or 5 pounds. You're going to be able to stick with that for a few weeks, and then you're going to be able to move up because you should gain strength with that amount of weight in that period of time. But you just don't want to increase it too much. You want to focus on 10% per week when it comes to, going through progression, whether that be adding weight, adding volume, or intensity. So that's basically what proper regression is. And we're going to go into cooldowns. Basically, with cooldowns, it's somewhat similar, like I discussed with the warm-ups. However, it can be slightly different. So incorporating a proper cooldown routine can indirectly support your muscle building efforts by promoting better recovery and reducing the risk of injuries, which could hinder your progress. Here's how to structure an effective cooldown. So performing 5 to 10 minutes, it's almost the same sort of time length as a warm-up. You want to have low intensity cardio, such as walking or light cycling, to gradually lower your heart rate back down. This helps remove the metabolic waste products like lactic acid from your muscles. Incorporating static stretches, that's another thing that you can do for the muscle groups you've worked during your workout, which is kind of what I discussed earlier with your warm-ups. You want to target those specific muscles that you're actually training that specific day. So you hold each stretch for roughly 15 to 30 seconds without bouncing and focusing on breathing to relax the muscles. Pay attention to areas that tend to tighten up or become sore. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing stretches is make sure that you feel that tender area. If you're trying to target your hamstrings, make sure that you're feeling that tender area in your leg. If you feel it, hold that stretch for that 15 or 30 seconds. That's, like I mentioned, oftentimes with foam rolling, a lot of people try to just roll over the muscle. That's not exactly how foam rolling works. Foam rolling is basically rolling to an extent to where you're feeling the tension in your leg and you're holding the stretch. That's basically what foam rolling is. A lot of people think it's you're rolling over muscle, but that's not necessarily how it works. You're doing a stretch, basically. You're still stretching. You're just using the foam roller as a way to find that tender spot, and then you're holding that stretch. So keep that in mind. A lot of people there's sort of misconception with what a foam roller does and the purpose of it. That's what I have my clients do pretty often because they can be very effective. I've used a foam roller myself. It can be very effective at stretching the proper muscles. And there's so many different muscles that you can target with the foam roller. And there's, you know, again, my clients, different, exercises, whether it be targeting the lower back muscle, you got your upper back muscle, it could be your chest muscle, it could be your triceps. You can target multiple muscles with a foam roller and really isolate those muscles. But going back and reviewing the cool down, it's very similar to the warm up. You're going to be performing 5 to 10 minutes of low intensity cardio, such as walking or light cycling. This is again to help reduce that heart rate. And then another thing you want to do is incorporate static stretches for muscle groups you've worked during your workout, holding the stretches for 15 to 30 seconds. So the difference with the warm up and cool down, you're not trying to raise your heart rate. So you generally wouldn't want to do really intense cardio with a warm up, or excuse me, with a cool down. With a warm up, you would want to do a little bit more intense cardio, but with a cool down, you're focusing on lower intensity activities. This is sort of to elevate your heart back to a normal rate. So just keep that in mind. That's the difference. Warm up is you're raising the heart rate, cool down, you're sort of slowing it down. So rest and recovery. This is something that I discuss a lot too. This is something that I discuss with clients as well. So rest refers to the period of time when you're not actively engaging in exercise. That's pretty much self-explanatory, but it's a critical component of injury prevention because it allows your body to recover from the stress and the strain of your workouts. Recovery encompasses a broader concept, including not only rest, but also strategies to enhance the body's recuperation process. So, rest days are extremely important. I usually always recommend at least 2 rest days a week, especially if you're training at least 5 days a week. Your body is going to need that rest, and you're going to thank yourself later when you allow your body to rest, because you're going to see that muscle growth. Because yes, training in the gym is important, as well as nutrition is extremely important, but your rest is also another thing that has to be balanced with all of that, because your rest is really what's going to help with the muscle repair process and the muscle growth. So on your rest days, you do still need to be a little bit active. So you don't need to just not do any types of activities. The rest days are primarily focused on light and low intensity activities like walking or gentle stretching on rest days. This can help improve blood flow and reduce that muscle soreness. So you want to stay lightly active. I usually recommend, my clients do a little bit of cardio, walking, maybe a jog, something to that effect. Stretching is also beneficial, but I usually try to recommend my clients get at least 10K steps when they're on their rest days. And the same can be said for other days, but primarily on the rest days to sort of keep your body active a little bit and to sort of help with, improving that blood flow and just improving, you know, the, preventing the ability to sort of get that muscle soreness and, just to help with the muscle growth and repair process. So, balance training. This is something that I think is important. I don't think a lot of coaches really mention this as much. And this is something I really place a lot of emphasis on. The same with flexibility training and why I think it's really important. I do these myself. I think balance training is extremely important in a lot of ways. It's helped me a ton in being able to, basically, because a lot of the workouts that I like to do require a lot of, we have a lot of different challenging movements. So when you're challenging your balance, you're helping to stabilize your body better when you're performing intense activities or more intense workouts. And I've done a lot of different balance training, whether it be kind of like what's here, the Bosu ball. I've used the stability ball. So this is not something that I just talk about. This is something that I've done in my routine. I don't do it all the time, but it's something that I do try to implement into my routine as often as I can to help challenge my balance and stability and to sort of keep my flexibility in check and keep my posture in check, because this is extremely important. It's another way to help benefit from, preventing injuries. So balance training is basically ensuring that, basically what we talk about balance training, it's ensuring that all major muscle groups are trained and strengthened in a balanced way is essential. So this helps prevent muscle imbalances, which can lead to poor posture, altered movement patterns, and ultimately injury. So the primary reason for implementing balance training is to prevent muscle imbalances. So muscle imbalances can happen if you are not targeting the muscles properly, or if you're not training the muscles properly. If you're not doing proper form, that can lead to muscle imbalances over time. So basically, the balance training is sort of to help correct those imbalances that you have. Now, your muscles can't be completely at balance because our body is just, it's not, we're not able to be extremely proportional and perfectly proportioned. You can, any person can have muscle imbalances, but it can be to a point to where if you have too much imbalance, it could lead to injury. So balance training is, of course, to help with that. It's going to help with your posture, any sort of altered movement patterns you have that will lead to injury. It's going to help to prevent that. So balance relates to flexibility and mobility. Something that I mentioned in the past, when I have my clients start out with their training, regardless of what their goals are, I usually have them do stability endurance training. Basically, it's a specific phase that all my clients start out with, and it's all about mastering basic movement patterns. And the reason being is, even though you may have, training experience, you could be a beginner, you could be intermediate, you could be, more advanced. This is something that I always implement first, and that I have my clients, it's basically a prerequisite, before they move on into the more intense based exercise, because I need to know that they're mastering the basic movement patterns. And once they master these movement patterns, that's how I know that they'll be able to perform, the proper form for other exercises. Because if you go into something, if you're not focusing on flexibility to start out, and you just completely just jump right into, weight training, you're not prepared for any movement. You're not prepared for any sort of particular motion. So you're going to get injured because you're not prepared and you're not aware of form. So the more that you use, start with body weight, the more you do balance training, stretching, mobility exercises, the more you start with that, the better you're going to be later on down the road when you're lifting heavier weights, or you're doing, more intense workout. You've already understood that flexibility and mobility is extremely important. I've mastered these basic movement patterns, so I'll be more comfortable down the line when I get to, intense exercise. So keep that in mind. That's one thing I always have my clients do, is to start with stabilization training, because it's extremely important. And it don't matter what phase you're at, it don't matter how, advanced you're in your training, it's something that needs to be mastered first before, and something that, especially me as a coach and a personal trainer, that I need to know that you've mastered those movement patterns, regardless if you had previous experience training or previous experience, weightlifting. I have to be able to know that. So that's one thing that I make important. And again, it's really, I know it's kind of boring to start out with that, but it's really important because it's going to help prevent injuries. And you're going to be so much more comfortable when you've mastered basic movements regarding to various workouts down the line. So I know I kind of went on a rant with that, but it's really important, and a lot of people don't really mention how important flexibility is before you move on to something, more advanced. So a lack of flexibility can lead to poor movement patterns, which is what I just discussed, and increase the risk of injury. So again, the reason for that first phase that I have my clients start out with, the stabilization, master basic movement. That's the main thing. But I do, sort of every now and then add balance training in order to help to sort of shock the muscles and to help with that posture and that flexibility. You need to continuously sort of be aware of your muscles and to be able to challenge them as often and to not, stagnate basically. So I just kind of just discussed stability training, but we're going to sort of review it. I know I kind of got ahead of myself, but stability training is a form of exercise that focuses on improving your body's ability to maintain balance and control over your movements. It's an important component of injury prevention and workouts because it helps enhance your overall physical stability, which in turn reduces the risks of falls, strains, and other injuries. So, stability training targets these smaller stabilizing muscles that are often overlooked during traditional strength training exercises, which I sort of discussed. So, these muscles help control and stabilize joints, provide better support and protection. So, you're strengthening those stabilizing muscles to help you as you get into that more intense activity. So I'm not going to stay on this too much more because I sort of went on a rant with stability training just a second ago and I got ahead of myself. But just understand that stability training is just focusing on mastering and controlling your overall basic movements with, barely any weight or no weight at all, and to, help to strengthen those stabilizing muscles that are going to help you down the road when you're targeting, larger muscles to be able to perform the proper movement patterns for each particular exercise that is going to be more intense. So that's basically what stability training is. I may go a little bit in more detail on sort of different examples of exercises that involve stability training, but just sort of understand that that's what it, in simple words and simple terms, basically controlling your movements. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that you found this helpful and valuable. I'm really passionate on this particular topic because I think it's important, and I don't think a lot of coaches really discuss the importance of stability, of warm-ups or cool downs. I think there's sort of a lack of, not saying that not every coach talks about that, but I don't think there's as much knowledge out there about talking about the specifics of preventing injury and how you can do that by having proper progression. So that's why I went on sort of the sort of rant, I guess you would say, with stability because it is extremely important. So, again, guys, that's all I have. If you want to learn more, and you can check out some great fitness and health tips on my Facebook, Instagram, and my X profile. I always share a bunch of different tips pretty much daily. I update it daily. I'm always posting new content every single day. On my YouTube, I do have a YouTube page, of course. I do post these live streams there, and the live stream does stay on my Facebook group page as well. And I do try to repost it back to my Facebook profile. But just keep in mind that you can access those two as well. I do have a ton of live streams. I have a ton of really good information in them. So you can definitely check those out. Again, if you want to learn more information regarding my online fitness program, you can visit my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. You can check that out. When you go onto the page, you can hit basically like the sandwich button at the top right. And once you hit that, it'll show basically, I forget what it says. It'll program or program structure, program design, or something to that effect at the top, or it'll be the first option. And you can go through it and it discusses basically how the program is structured, what you get with your program, your workout plan, the applications you'll have, Trainerize, Evolution Nutrition, and things of that nature you'll be able to access. So check that out. If you want to reach out to me, you can definitely reach out to me by, of course, sending me a message here through Facebook. You can do the same with Instagram or X, any other platform. If you do have any questions, just feel free to ask me. If it can be anything related to fitness or health, I'm willing to ask. I don't want you to think that I'm just trying to sell you something. I'm really passionate about what I'm doing, and I really want to help people. Yes, I do have a business that I'm trying to build, but I do try to make it a focus that I help others and, give great information and value to show, my expertise as a certified personal trainer. So, again, guys, that's all I have. I know this was probably longer than usual, but I just wanted to go over these topics and sort of explain the importance of them. I will have another live stream next Wednesday discussing about weight loss. So I think this will be a good topic, and I'm looking forward to talking about that next week. Again, it'll be next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So again, guys, I will see you guys in the next live stream.